What it is, what is up everybody, another beautiful day in Azeroth, and today we'll be taking a look at Uldaman, Legacy of Tyr, which is part of the Dragonflight Season 2 dungeon pool for M+. And I'll be going over notable trash, interrupts, and boss mechanics. Now let me know what y'all think of these dungeon guides in the comments. Want me to make more quick guides like this, or perhaps more in-depth stuff? Moving on, in Uldaman you can activate the neglected mole machine, so at the start of the dungeon where you release, if you happen to die, you will find the first neglected mole machine, and as you defeat more bosses, more mole machine travel points unlock, and these are great if you happen to wipe, because it is a really long run. Now the first travel point unlocks after the second boss and takes you to that area, the alpha mole machine. The second one, beta, is available after defeating fourth boss, and the last mole machine becomes active after you've pulled last boss once, so you only get to see it after you've wiped, and you will. So notable trash before first boss, you want to interrupt the Geomancer's Stone Spike and Chain Lightning. The Basilisks do a ton of damage to the tank, and you want to make sure to stop the Spiked Carapace cast. It makes them reflect damage and it really hurts. This can be purged off. And you want to avoid the Hulking Berserker's Brutal Slam. It is pretty brutal and it kind of slams. Now for the first boss, the Lost Dwarves. You have Balog, Heavy Arrow. Balog fires an arrow in a straight line, damaging and knocking back players' hit. Watch where he's facing. He also has a frontal cleave, I noticed. Then you have Eric the Swift. Targets a random player's location and Eric charges over there after a bit, dealing damage and disorienting players' hit. Olog, Budget Avenger Shield. Ricocheting shield targets a player and ricochets to up to 5 players within 5 yards, so run out if you're targeted and do spread. And you want to make sure to interrupt his defensive bulwark. 75% damage reduction is not awesome. During the longboat raid, try to move as a group. The cannon fire swirl spawns at a player's location, and if you kill a Viking early, he will jump into the longboat and continuously rain fire upon thee, increasing per Viking in the boat. And there's no new notable trash before next boss, just more of the same. So the second boss, Bromac. Boss spawns Trog Ambushers and a Geomancer. Ambushers leap at random player's location, dealing damage where they land. A Geomancer's Chain Lightning and Stone Spike needs to be interrupted, and you want to stack them up on boss as fast as possible. You want to prio down the Geomancers and keep him interrupted at all time. Make sure to move out of his Thundering Slam. 12-yard circle deals a ton of damage. Nuke down the Quaking Totem that spawns to stop it from AoEing. Doing so stuns all Trogs, including the boss, within 8 yards of the totem, and increases their damage taken by 200% for 10 seconds. The boss will also cast Bloodlust for him and his Trogs, so try and time the totem stun for this so you interrupt the Bloodlust by killing the totem. Just make sure the boss is next to it. Moving on, notable trash before the third boss. The Earthen Custodians have a nasty frontal cleave and their auto attacks apply a bleed. And also, if possible, you want to endcap etc. the Custodian's Jagged Bite. So the third boss, we have Sentinel Talondras. Boss generates energy over time. At 100 energy, she becomes immune to stuns and deals 50% more damage. Now to keep this from happening, you need to stun her by dragging her through resonating orbs to reset her energy. 3 players get targeted by these, and after a few seconds drop the orbs at their location. And now these orbs will stun players and or the boss. The boss will also be buffed with 2 stacks of Inexorable, which makes her immune to stuns. You will always need to drag her through 3 orbs to reset her energy. And be careful when boss casts Crushing Stomp so you don't get knocked into one of these orbs. Boss also gains 5% damage increase following every stun. Moving on, notable trash before Emberon. The Earthen Weaver, interrupt their Stone Bolt and if possible disrupt Hail of Stone. The Runic Protectors leave fissures on the ground, don't stand in them, and they do a lot of unavoidable AoE damage via earthquakes. You want to interrupt and or purge the Earth Warder's Earthen Ward, and you want to make sure to interrupt Curse of Stone as it stuns players hit for 5 seconds. Can be decursed if you have one, and you want to beware of the Cavern Seeker Sonic Burst. It interrupts and spell locks you if you're casting when it goes off. Cannot be interrupted but can be disrupted.
Ayo, stop!
Now the fourth boss, Emberon, Searing Clap, is a frontal cone that follows the tank. Don't get smacked. Also applies a dot to everyone in the party. Now 4 Vault Keepers around the room will get activated and launch flamey balls that travels towards players, and they explode if you touch them. Don't touch them. And Unstable Embers targets everyone in the party on Mythic. 7-yard circle erupts after 3 seconds, and you want to spread with these, and they hurt a ton. At 100 energy, boss goes immune and moves into the middle. Players take ticking fire damage during this intermission. You want to avoid the fire beams that rotate around the room, and you want to nuke down all the awakened vault keepers that are channeling into the boss. As soon as they're dead, phase 1 begins again. Moving on to notable trash before the last boss, you have the Eben stone golem. Deals a ton of AoE damage via thunderous clap. It is outrangeable, but it is 30 yards. And the earthen guardian spawns a blessed tier bubble that buffs mobs in it. Kite them out of it. And the infinite time reverse cast stolen time, which is a magic effect debuff that stacks. It reduces your haste by 2% per stack, but they also get a buff that increases their haste by 2% per stack. And this is stacked on any player near them. So you want to make sure to purge or spell steal this buff from them. Mages do love this one.
I'll just take a cool 50% haste buff, yeah, why not?
Go perma bloodlust. And then there's the final boss, Chrono Lord Deus. Boss will spawn eternity orbs that falls from above, dealing damage on impacts and forms an eternity zone. These zones deals a lot of damage if you stand in them, and they decrease your haste by 30%. At 0 energy, boss will rewind time flow, dealing damage to everyone in the party. And during this, all zones are now temporal and instead increases your haste by 50%, so do stand in them. You want to avoid getting knocked into eternity zones when boss casts Wing Buffet, and you want to avoid Sand Breath, Frontal Cone aimed at the tank. Players targeted by time sync needs to run out and get dispelled. Upon removal, they spawn a time eruption. Don't stand in it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Uldaman, Legacy of Tyr. Let me know what y'all think of these bite-sized dungeon guides in the comments, and if you'd like to see more dungeon guides in the future. Don't forget the usual stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell. It really helps me out, and there's tons of guides coming out for 10.1. And if you want to help support my work, do check out my Patreon. As a patron, you get access to the Stankie Gaming Discord, but you can also get shoutouts and videos, coaching, among other things. I also stream progression and testing on Twitch, Stankie Gaming. Feel free to hop on by and spam me with questions. I love answering them. And thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.